we're talking now. I'm not knocking everybody who does Muay Thai in this way, but I'm going to read you a little text from someone who wanted a private lesson.
Right.
Okay, so he texted me, wanted a private lesson. So I'm checking into Kung Fu and kickboxing. That was his question. Okay, due to COVID, I'm currently doing private and small group personal lessons. That's the answer I gave him.
Yeah.
What kind of Kung Fu? And what kind of kickboxing? And how much? Simple questions.
Yeah.
And can I book for Wednesday?
Wow.
So I said the style is Lao Kung Fu. How did you hear about us? You'll find more information on SJN Martial Arts, UK or Canada. I'm available Sundays or any evening from 7 p.m. after this Thursday. I currently have no venue, so that would be your choice, home, stroke home. Kickboxing is primarily semi-contact training, and it's directly from the style, okay?
Yeah.
So, and then I say, what did you do? If you're interested in meeting me first, that would be fine. What's your background? Okay, so that was my question. What's your background?
Mm-hmm.
He says, Muay Thai, Dutch kickboxing.
Okay. What's Dutch kickboxing?
I don't know.
Right.
Does Friday work? We don't have to meet. Friday evening works. Okay, so we don't have to meet for coffee or anything, which I like to talk to people to get to know them, to find out what they're capable of and what they like to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you Friday if that works, he said. So I've put, do you want to meet somewhere for coffee? Did you do Muay Thai here or in Europe? And the reason I asked that was obviously because he said Dutch kickboxing.
Right.
So he just put here. We don't have to meet for coffee. What do you charge? Okay, so I told him what I charged. So I put, I'm interested to know why you called it Dutch Muay Thai, which is why I assumed you may have trained in Europe. How much did you do? Friday will be fine. He said, I didn't call it Dutch Muay Thai. Sorry, punctuation. Dutch is its own style. So it must be Dutch kickboxing or something. I don't know.
Right. Right.
Made famous by Boz Rutten.
Oh, right. So it's Baz Rutten. Yeah. But so it's K1, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah. All right. It's in a ring. Yeah.
Got it. I put, yeah. Okay. So he puts, I asked him where he wanted to meet. He put the Okanagan Seasons Resort. There's grass.
Huh? Do you mean
okay?
Voila?
No, that's in any shop. You can buy that anywhere. So I just put, you'll have to give me directions. So he tells me where it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I put, okay. So an outside venue, I'm assuming. I'm happy to meet you there, but to this point, you've given me no information. So please provide me with the following. What's your name? How old are you? What's your age? What gender are you?
Yeah.
How did you hear about me, and what information has drawn you to want to hire me?
Right.
Okay. So for me to teach you. Okay. How much experience in martial arts or sports do you have? This allows me to approach you in the right level and mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any health, mental or physical issues which may affect the way you can train or process information?
Right.
These are necessary questions normally covered in initial informal meet, but you preferred to get directly into training, so they need to be covered prior to any effort we make to begin. And then I told him a little bit about myself.
Yeah.
He put, my name is Chris Wirtz. Sounds Dutch, doesn't it, anyway?
Chris Wirtz.
Chris Wirtz.
Right.
And his experience was 3 years.
Okay.
And that was all he gave me. Right. So
seems legit.
So I said, any more info? He goes, no health, medical, mental issues. And I process information just as good as anyone else. What's that have to do with training?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I just graduated college, Chief. Forget
Wow.
it, dude. I'll train elsewhere.
Woof.
And please don't text me again.
Oh, what a genius.
I didn't even text him. He texted me. And next time, keep your stupid questions to yourself. Otherwise, you might not get any students. Now, this is a guy that wanted someone to meet him in a park without a name, without an age or gender. How was I supposed to know who he was?
Well,
Where was I supposed to meet him? How do I know what to teach him?
listen, ESP. That's what I'm saying. Yeah? Yeah?
ESP, what's ESP?
And extrasensory perception. That's what that is.
Is that how I'm supposed to do it?
Apparently, you know.
So I said, so you expected me to turn up to a park to teach you. Thanks for your inquiry and giving me the lowdown on your attitude. All questions are to establish information to help me know how to approach teaching you. I don't think your attitude helps. He gave me a venue, no name, no clue who you were. Okay, and then you expected me to turn up. You know, just keep, I'll keep these exchanges. Hope you find what you're looking for. So what kind of moron would give me his name, Chris Wirtz, and then tell me to off?
Well, he's got a college degree. So,
well, allegedly just finished college, chief. So I'm going to send him a text, say, watch episode such and such because you're famous now.
You fight before?
Yeah,
You good?
yeah, I'm good.
Good defense?
Yeah,
But train different in America. Your defense stinks.
You are the new student. Come closer.
You're listening to the Kung Fu Podcast presented by James Still
I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
and Steve Newby.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
No, 43. We're on 43.
Yeah.
Right. Old man, viewers,
Yeah.
listeners, welcome to the show. The Kung Fu Podcast, episode 43 with me, James Still, from Hereford, England, United Kingdom. I'm from Canada. Sorry, no, what should I say? Kelowna, British Columbia. Mr. Steve Newby.
Does that sound better, does it? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds bad. Right. You've probably, if you're listening to this, you've read the title, so you know what we're talking about. But for the sake of the intro, old man, do you know what we're talking about today, or shall I give you some guesses? Shall I give you some clues as to what we're talking about?
I do believe, we're talking about some Kung Fu stuff.
Right.
Some martial arts.
Well, maybe. We don't know. It's, I'll make a change. Right. Okay. Right. I'm going to give you three of the most popular techniques in this style, shall we say, of fighting, and you've got to guess what it is we're going to talk about, right? So, okay, so the most one of three, the most popular techniques in this style. Okay, the first one is a sidekick, a lead sidekick to the kneecap. Any ideas? Come on.
Bruce Lee, isn't it?
Oh, for God's sake. Right, you've got to say no idea.
Oh, have I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, in that case, no idea.
Oh, there you go. Right, okay. So the second technique, right? Second technique. See if you can guess it. Right? Finger jab to the eyes.
Okay, no idea.
Okay, all right. So this is the one where you've got to guess it right. Okay, right. The third technique, right? And you're bound to get it from this. It's the lick the thumb of the rear telephone hand.
Yeah.
Which is it?
Jeet Kune Do.
It's Jeet Kune Do. It's
Bruce Lee, isn't it? Yeah, Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. So we're going to be talking
Wonderful.
about that today. And now, yeah, so that should be fun because I'll be honest, I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with Jeet Kune Do. I've never done Jeet Kune Do, but my very first book in martial arts was Scientific Street Fighting, Junfan Jeet Kune Do by Sifu Lamar M. Davis III. He had a big handlebar mustache. He's an American dude. And I tell you what, right? I read this book before before I started training with you. And I say read it, I just like browsed the pictures and I
people
got the
do,
gist
don't
of
they?
it.
They never read them.
Yeah.
They read little bits.
That's
and
it.
they go, oh, I like that bit. And then they just.
Well, that's it. Well, I'm reading it and I thought, I like that. Yeah, directness. Yeah, just, as he pulls his hand back, stick your finger in his, it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And
Is that guy got a beard or something in the photograph?
He's got a big handlebar mustache, like proper.
Oh, right.
Looks like
I've got a few books. I've got quite a few books of Bruce Lee. I was very much into Bruce Lee, but obviously it was a long time ago at the time when he was really, really. Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah.
We shall.
But I've had mine hardback copied. Mine's probably the only one in the world that's hardback copied with gold leaf.
Oh wow!
Because I had a student who was a bookbinder.
Oh, okay.
So he bound all my books. Unfortunately, I wish I'd have had that one done in leather now, but I had another one called History, Philosophy and Technique of Kung Fu. And it's, since I've learned a lot about Kung Fu, it's awful.
Yeah. Bruce Lee, his first book was, it was, the philosophical, Kung Fu, the philosophical art of self-defense. And that was his first book in America. And it was the only book that he ever wrote himself. Right? Because all the other ones have been written like by other people about him, and he didn't do the Tao Jeet Kune Do. So the only book Bruce Lee actually wrote himself was The Philosophical Art of Kung Fu. And that was really good. It was a bit like Tao Jeet Kune Do, but a bit more condensed and, not as detailed. It's mainly focusing on Wing Chun and stuff, But the thing is, right, we're going to be talking about Jeet Kune Do. Now, the question, the points I want to talk about with you is I want to kind of suggest that maybe in terms of the philosophy of it, maybe we might have a bit more in common with it than we might think.
Well, the message is there.
Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, I do think there's a lot wrong with the idea of Jeet Kune Do. And I think it sort of, then it kind of goes against what what I think kind of what I stand for, I guess. And I don't know about you, I can't speak for you, but in terms of the traditional martial arts and the proliferation of traditional martial arts. So we're going to talk about that. But the thing is, right, you've got to ask yourself the question, everybody, what are we talking about? We're talking about Jeet Kune Do, but I've done my research, right? And I'm not kidding. There are a few styles of Jeet Kune Do. Would you like me to reel just some off, right?
A few styles.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, don't forget that. Right, Jeet Kune Do, right? You've got Jeet Kune Do, okay? Then you've got Bruce Lee Foundation Jeet Kune Do. You've got World JKD Federation, the Junfan Jeet Kune Do, Junfan Branch Jeet Kune Do. You've got Jeet Kune Do Nucleus, Jeet Kune Do Concepts, Original Jeet Kune Do. You've got Junfan Jeet Kune Do Grappling Association. You've got Jeet Kune Do Framework. You've got Jeet Kune Do Personal Systems. And this is perhaps my favorite. You've got Chinatown, JKD. I like that. Now, which do you choose? And what's the difference? Okay. I'm sure people know, but I have a feeling that I think Bruce Lee Foundation Jeet Kune Do is all your old school people like Danny Nasanto and Larry Hartzell and, all those people, Jerry Petit.
Yeah, you'd like to hope so.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
But, even then they were off on their own before, within minutes of his death, they were off doing their own thing. So they can only teach what they know.
Well, but it's like, how do you define what Jeet Kune Do actually is, right? See, for me, from purely a simplistic way of looking at it, right? This is what Jeet Kune Do is, right? Is Wing Chun, it's boxing, it's a bit of fencing, it's Muay Thai, it's Kali, Silat, with a bit of jiu-jitsu thrown in. That's what it is. That's what it is. Like, Well,
with respect and in respect of the different types of styles you've got there, a kick's a kick. They're all the bloody same.
Right.
So with the exception of a bit of jiu-jitsu, so they're going to be grappling. Kali, what are they going to be using? Some sticks. So it's, at the end of the day, it's what people have put together to create a style. It's not what Bruce Lee really put together. It's just what he's read and he's gone, oh yeah.
Because
he's got to label everything, hasn't he? And yet the whole idea was not to have a label. Yeah. So it dies on its feet pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, Jeet Kune Do was Bruce Lee's own style that is actually a non-style.
Made up of all styles.
Yeah, that was based on different styles because the style he practiced he thought was an incomplete style. Now,
well, it would be
he's the founder of a style.
If he only trained for 5 years.
Well,
it's going to be incomplete, isn't it? If you only train for 5 years, it doesn't matter how hard you train. If you're not going to understand everything, then, it's going to be incomplete. So it's only complete if you have someone who's, lived long enough and worked hard enough to complete it, or to be taught everything that is known.
Well, that's providing the art, the nucleus art being taught is being taught correctly and is complete.
Yeah,
right?
So that defines all martial arts, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess what do we mean by complete would be my next question. But we go on and on and on, right?
So well, we could do, but we can make it. It's something that can be useful pretty much to everyone.
Right.
But it shouldn't be useful to some. It's got to be useful to everyone.
Yeah.
In the most basic sense, which primarily is self-defense.
Yeah, but isn't that what the concept of Jeet Kune Do actually was about? And what I mean is, we always talk about, making the martial art. You teach individuals, right? You can't teach a style. You have to teach an individual. So if it's a small person, maybe grappling's going to be out, unless they grapple with someone exactly the same size, thereabouts. If it's someone who's flexible, they're going to be able to, do a lot better dynamic kicks than someone who's not. So if it's an age thing, if it's a size thing, blah, 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 right? Isn't Jeet Kune Do by design, and let's just assume we'll go from Bruce Lee's sort of idea, isn't it by design an individualistic approach to just training martial arts? So you would say, okay, I'm not very flexible, so I'm not going to practice high dynamic kicks. So
it totally depends on what he's taught, not just what he practices.
Right.
He can only practice what he's taught, can't he? So then it goes down to what can the individual teach. Well, I don't know anyone who really was interested in high kicks if they were learning what Bruce Lee was teaching, because Bruce Lee in himself wasn't that interested in high kicks. He only did high kicks for the movies. So he's obviously interested in self-defense. So primarily, the people that trained with him or trained, with his concept in mind, are trying to live that, but through their own capabilities. So
yeah,
and then add whatever they had.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Like down in the center with the Kali.
Yeah,
with the sticks and
the Filipino
like
martial arts, because Dan in Santo loves his Filipino martial arts, so he just adds that, you know. But this is the thing. Can't tell you how many documentaries and how many videos I've watched of Dan in Santo, of all the Jeet Kune Do original guys, like, Richard Bastilio, Taki Kimura, Jerry Petit, Danny Innocent, so on. Right? All the original sort of guys who turn around and say, yeah, well, this is Savat kicking range, so I'm going to do a sachet kick like they do in some. Then I break into Wing Chun trapping range. Then I'm going to break into Muay Thai elbow range, a Muay Thai knee, and then I'm going to employ a lock that you might find in jiu-jitsu, and then I'll take him down onto the ground, and so forth, and it goes like that. Right,
you just go, well, what are you talking about?
I mean, like, what, like, and like you said before, what makes it a Muay Thai elbow? What is a Muay Thai elbow?
I have no idea.
Do we not do like? There's only so many ways you can do an elbow.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's only so many ranges you can fight.
Right.
So you're gonna, do whatever you need to do to get into a specific range and then out into a specific range. But you don't have to name where it come from, because pretty much everyone trains these things.
Yeah.
If they've got whole martial arts, I mean, there are martial arts that are limited. That are limited specifically to their, if you want to call it style. Then I understand that. But primarily, it should be everything that's scientific, and it doesn't matter where it comes from. They're all have come from originally pretty much the same places.
Yeah.
It makes it very difficult. It kind of kills the whole concept of, I think what Bruce Lee was trying to do or trying to say has been destroyed. It's like you can assimilate it to and I'm not religious, but just let's just say, okay, Jesus Christ allegedly said something, on the Sermon on the Mount, whatever.
Yeah.
And now you've got these huge churches full of gold. Everybody owns, the churches own so much land, it's untrue. Do you think that was Jesus's concept about his religion? No. But that's how the world is, and that's what's happened to Bruce Lee's Kung Fu, is they have proliferated so many different things in order to sell their product, their personal product, or their personality, or their personal, ideas, that Bruce Lee doesn't even come into it. So the only thing about Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do is Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And, I think his ideas.
Well, that's a philosophic point, because Bruce Lee, Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do is Bruce Lee's, because Jun Fan was his name. Jeet Kune Do, his style, that's his, right? So a lot of these instructors, these like nucleus guys, nucleus guys, they're teaching like Jeet Kune Do in the way Bruce Lee would have taught it, right?
Or in the way that they can, physically do it.
Right, but
it may not be the way Bruce Lee did it.
Yeah, but
they may be bigger people.
Yeah, they may be. But what I kind of think by what that means is they're just teaching. Okay, they're going to teach the Wing Chun. They're going to teach the Muay Thai. They're going to teach, so specific arts. Whereas, like, then you've got the people who just, add, whatever, silat, whatever, but, he had a massive library, Bruce Lee, though, didn't he?
He had a huge library, one of the biggest libraries in the world, apparently. But it doesn't take away from the fact that he had an idea and he wanted to proliferate it, maybe. He wanted to promote his idea, he was that kind of guy. And whatever he's done with that idea, it has to go through other people. Yeah. And as it goes through other people, it dilutes. Yeah. As all martial arts will dilute, okay? But the core value of that style, or the core value of his teaching, should have survived. Yeah. We hope that it may have survived, or he hoped, hopefully, that it may have survived.
Well, the internet, the internet's full of funny jokes. Do you want to hear a Jeet Kune Do joke?
Yeah,
and I'll try not to be funny. Right. Okay. So check this out. Right. How many original Jeet Kune Do nucleus students does it take to change a light bulb? I don't know. Right. So it takes 3. You want an instructor to teach the senior student exactly how Thomas Edison would have changed the light bulb. You need a senior student to actually change the light bulb. And you need a friend of the senior student to badmouth Dan Inosanto on Facebook. It's true. Oh, it's great. But oh my God.
Yeah, they're going to be, I think they're going to be encouraged by anyone who questions them to actually question someone else in order to, justify their own direction, if you want. So, and again, in talking of Bruce Lee's martial arts, you could really be talking about any martial arts,
right?
In my view, because I think the majority of martial arts has gone that way, or will always go that way. The majority of everything will always go that way, unless it stays in a specific, school and direction.
Yeah, I think elaborating on what you just said there, I think that the natural martial arts as a whole will always find an equilibrium, right? Yeah. And so it will always balance out, and you can see that in things like, whenever you sportify something like MMA, it's, striking works, it's great, now grappling's the best, until striking back. So it always sort of balance out. And all martial arts as well, not just the sport ones now, will always balance out, because a kick, like you said, a kick is just a kick. And this is what Bruce Lee says, a punch is just a punch, right? So you can't classify, this is a lead jab from Western boxing. Oh, this is a lead hook from Western. This is a back fist from Taekwondo or something. It's
you can't classify it.
You can't. And so
you can only do so many moves, and that's it.
Yeah. So this is what gets my goat whenever I watch. You can pick out certain exercises which are specific to certain arts.
Or you can do.
But
I was going to say you can.
Go on.
I was going to say, sorry, you can do. Only so many moves, but for thousands and thousands of reasons.
Yeah.
In lots of different ways, but the move's the same.
Yeah.
But as we always say, it's got to be, it can be done in a different way, totally dependent on the speed and accuracy and power that you're creating, and then the size of your opponent and his attitude, and so on. So everything, and then the environment as well, and the purpose of it, the intention.
Yeah.
So, what was the situation that caused you to decide to do that?
Yeah.
So for that reason, there could be lots of different ways of doing something.
Yeah.
So it isn't. Yeah, there are only so many techniques.
Well, I just think a lot of it boils down to training methods within these JEET Kune schools. Like, so they'll classify techniques according to, right, so we're going to do some Western boxing training. So we're going to hit pads, we're going to slip, we're going to parry, we're going to bob weave, etc. But they're not saying, it's just a punch, it's just a slip. You find that in, Christ's sake, find it in Kung Fu, find it in Wing Chun, because Wing Chun isn't meant to be static, move, parry, But I think for ease of teaching, I think they want to classify it into different, methods of styles.
And to have more opportunities than the next guy, or to try to sell it better than the next guy.
Well, that does help, because it makes you seem like, I know all these things.
But that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Because they need to say, we do this from Savat, we do this from such and such. We must know a lot. Well, to be honest with you, the more techniques you pick from different styles, the less you know.
Yeah.
Because you're learning less of a style. You're trying to pick up things, and then can you imagine trying to fight and say, I'm going to do this hook from boxing because I'm quite close enough. Then I'm going to do this elbow from such. What the hell are you talking about? Why don't you just hit him?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's they're doing it just to sell their own product, if you like. I don't think Bruce Lee ever would have, done that. He would have suggested that, they do this in such and such, and I like this technique. He may have just watched particular individual fighters and liked the technique. I think that would have been far better off. It's like, boxer watching boxing matches and learning from other boxers.
Yeah.
It's like going and learning from people that he spars with,
Yeah.
that he trains with.
Oh, that guy can
like
pull
we
that
would.
off. Great.
Yeah,
I'll try it.
yeah. I think I can do that. I think I'd like to try that.
Yeah.
That's not for me. I don't like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Would it work? And when you watch it work, you go, you know what? I think I could pull that off.
Yeah,
So
but the problem with it is when you see a Hapkido guy do an amazing jump spinning kick and whatever, you would look at that jump spinning kick that landed on a guy, knocked him out, and go, I'm going to use that kick, that Hapkido kick. But no, it's not a Hapkido. It's like it's just a spinning kick. You know what I mean?
You're going to say, I'm going to use that spinning kick.
Yeah, you would.
Use that technique.
But
I've got the flexibility and the ability to do that technique.
Yeah. But
so I'm going to do it. You're not going to say I'm going to do a Hapkido technique.
Yeah, right. Because that makes no sense. And when if you use the Muay Thai thing as an example, right? What is Muay Thai, right? Sport in Muay Thai, for me, it's not so much a style as a set of rules, right? You go into a ring, you fight Muay Thai rules, you're doing knees, you're doing elbows, you're doing punches, you're doing kicks, you're doing sweeps, you're doing holds, you're doing takedowns. You can, right? That's a set of rules within a sporting context. For me, it's not so much a style more as a set of rules, right? Everybody, I think, who does a punching and kicking art could train that way, but they don't. We don't. I don't, because I do a lot of points fighting, a lot of continuous fighting. I'm not really kicking to the legs a lot, but, I understand that, okay, right, let's turn it up. Let's include leg kicks. Now I'm having to block with the legs and etc. Do you know what I mean? So it's more of a rule set rather than a style. And this is the problem I have with it. It's like, I'm going to do a Muay Thai elbow. What's that mean? Yeah,
it's down to attitude of training as well and what people want to pick up.
Right. Right. So I got a couple of things, right, that I kind of like about Jeet Kune Do, and a few more things that I don't like about Jeet Kune Do, and I was just wondering if I'll run them by you, right? So the first thing I like about Jeet Kune Do, right, and it sounds weird in retrospect, but I kind of think that it's quite accessible for beginners. And what I mean by that is, bear with me. You say to someone, right, a beginner, someone who knows nothing about martial arts, right, what's faster, a John Wayne punch or a straight punch, a la, Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do style, and you say to them, oh, well, it's the straight punch that's quicker, because it's linear, it gets from point A to point B, So a beginner is going, yeah, that makes sense. And then when you say, oh, right, take the longest weapon to the nearest target, like, a side kick to the kneecap, a side kick from the front leg to the kneecap because it's closest to the target. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Yes. On that level, it kind of makes sense and it's quite accessible to people in their mindset, particularly those who don't know, anything about martial arts. And I was one of them, right? So that's the one thing I like about it. What do you think of that?
Well, I do have to say, I do agree with that. And I was, all the time you were saying that, I was thinking how much I like Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
When Brandon Lee got into movies, and he did some really good movies, and he did some really sharp stuff. He didn't do any of the filmy stuff that Bruce Lee was doing with the high kicks and the step in and all that.
Yeah.
He just did it. He was a pretty good, and he was a pretty good actor, and he did some really good stuff. I really like I can't remember the movie.
Rapid Fire.
Yeah, that was it. Rapid Fire. I thought that was pretty good when he just stood there, faked a kick, and smacked him in the mouth.
Yeah. Because that's typical. That's like Lao Gar old school, isn't it?
Exactly.
Low bang like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's exactly the same thing.
I love that.
And I love that kind of attitude. And he had a good attitude because he also, he was acted that he was concerned, he was scared, and he was forced into that situation.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yeah.
And did it.
Yeah.
And he really did some good techniques in that film,
Yeah.
and very simple, very basic techniques. And for that reason, I thought that was a really good. So someone's got to have taught him.
Oh yeah, no, Brandon
Someone
Lee
must have
learned
taught him.
from Richard Bastilio, one of Bruce Lee's original students.
Yeah.
So he did his, he learned from, one of Bruce Lee's senior students, and I think he kept it up until his death.
No doubt he would have watched a lot of video of his dad as well.
Definitely. But when you grow up in that environment, you're surrounded by all those people, it's just, it's your life then, isn't it? Yeah, no, great. Another thing I like about Jeet Kune Do, right? So about accessibility for beginners, I like the idea, and I've kind of touched on this, I like the economy of movement that they talk about. I just like all that. Again, same thing, but it's just, can't just hit them fast, straight, or, I like the concept, but some people sort of go down the, and take it too literally. You must only do a straight punch. You must stand specifically in the Baizhong ready position, and it's just like, the idea of what you're saying is good. Economy of motion, brilliant, but I think we get on with that. And the third thing I like about
they're teaching a style then, aren't they? If they talk like that.
Yeah, right. Well,
they begin to teach a style, they lose themselves in the style as opposed to the technique.
And this is one of the problems. We're going to come round to this because,
style is important, but not to the detriment of the technique.
Right, and we're going to come around to this. Third thing I like about Jeet Kune Do, Enter the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. That was all Jeet Kune Do. Let's face it, that was just like Bruce Lee.
Well, his fight with
the whole movie.
Yeah,
like,
but
was
in the
his
Colosseum.
concepts.
In the
no,
Colosseum,
that's Way of the Dragon.
Oh, sorry, yes, that right, it is. Yeah,
Enter the Dragon is, Hans Island and all that.
Yeah. I apologize.
But
I only watched it 10 times.
Yeah, well, no, but you're right. Way of the Dragon was, it was the concept. I'll keep fluid. I'll move.
I just came to the fight with Chuck Norris in the Colosseum, where 1 minute he's doing it all traditional, and then suddenly starts bouncing
and then moving and slipping.
I think he was trying to make a point to people, but I think that point has already been. I mean, that is a typical. Maybe it's the same with Lao Ga, when Lao Ga, people who do traditional Lao Ga tend not to do the bouncing, and as soon as they start fighting, they start bouncing.
Yeah.
So it is quite a good point to make.
Yeah.
And you do get that crossover, and you get that, people who don't ever do fighting in competition or any other way, and they end up just standing static and trying to do the sets and making the sets look fluid and pretty, but long-winded. And they don't bother to try to shorten the techniques or develop the techniques, and they don't do any fighting whatsoever or apply the techniques within that fighting range. So you get a lot of different types of people do martial arts, and I think Bruce Lee's is going to be exactly the same. You're going to get the people who are good at fighting, who want to fight, and like Brandon did some really good techniques in that. To that end. Whether he was a good fighter in real life, I don't know. I can't say, but I can't see why not. But and then you'll get people who are very, very solid and say, no, this technique must be this way, and so on. And then it becomes difficult.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, because what essentially has happened with Jeet Kune Do is it started off as a non-style, and we don't believe in styles or forms and everything, but in actuality, it's kind of gone full circle and is become a style, right? But okay, before we go on, I've got a few things I don't like about Jeet Kune Do, right? So the first one is it's commercialized heavily. Like, you got a lot of people, like,
well, that's it. They're
making
playing
money
on the
off
name of Bruce Lee.
Absolutely,
that's it.
absolutely.
They're just desperately trying to, make that work.
The second one is quality control. I think with Jeet Kune Do, because it's such an open-ended concept, there's no way that you can keep the quality of anything, because like in Lao Ga, like you've got some people.
I was going to say it's the same with pretty much the same all martial arts.
But when you're, it's like you can't be taught by dummies. Unfortunately, Jeet Kune Do is kind of one of these things that
It can be taught by dummies.
can be taught by dummies, you know, because they'll just turn around and their
Two
answer
dummies.
is, well, it's a bit like religion, isn't it? It's like, you know, prove God exists, prove he didn't exist, you know.
It's a cult.
You know, it's a cult. And it's like, well, why are you doing this? It's because Bruce Lee taught it like this, or it's what it says in the Tower JEET KUNE. You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, do you actually believe that? You know, so quality control, I think that's another one. The fact that mostly, you know, they want to classify styles. So the third thing I don't like is they want to classify styles. So it's boxing, it's kickboxing, it's Wing Chun, it's Kali, it's Silat, it's Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wrestling. They want to classify all these things. You know, but none of them have done.
It's like taking a circle and sticking edges on it.
Right.
You know, it's making it a ridiculous shape.
You know, and I think paying homage to these styles. I mean,
I had a student like
it's
that.
like I would, you know, it's like how many different bows does Dan Inosanto know?
That's right.
I don't know. I'll ask him when he's finished. You know, it's been 30 years.
The student,
Yeah, I'm just like, God.
The student, as I told you already, the student went to a JEET KUNE club, and by the time they'd finished the bows, it was nearly time to go home. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah, that's it. Another thing I don't like about JEET KUNE is some people still think it's 1964. So when they teach JEET KUNE, they're teaching it exactly how Bruce Lee wanted it. This is how Bruce Lee would have wanted it, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, the fact is that you've seen it, you know, throughout the lifespan of Laugar in the UK. You've seen the evolution. Certainly when you look in a sporting context, there's evolution there. You know, and you know yourself that as a traditional practitioner that you have evolved. You might still be doing the same set, but for different reasons. So there's an evolution. Some people go, oh, but you're a fixed style. It's like, no, it's a constantly evolving. So it's a constantly evolving thing.
The learning process is fixed, just the same as if you want to learn to drive a car, you've got to drive on the particular side of the road, etc., etc. You've got a signal. They're all the same, but it doesn't make you, it doesn't change the way you drive. Then it only guides you, you know, so that it works. Otherwise it don't work. And I was just wondering back then when you said about this, you know, the 60s and so on, I'm wondering if Bruce Lee was alive today and he went to a competition in, you know, with, like in the 80s and 90s with the BKFA, how he would have appreciated it, because I think he would have appreciated I think he would have appreciated the way people were fighting then. He would have seen how they have not conformed. You know.
I kind of think with that as well, non-conformity really did work well for the approach to fighting with Lau. It was different, wasn't it? It was different.
You got to react to the opponent. You got to react to what the other opponent is doing.
It's got to be alive. But
fighting has got to be alive. Fighting has got to be non-conform. But you have to have a basis to start with. And that's right. Where maybe Bruce Lee had some basis, and then maybe his students didn't have. Which is why you haven't got any follow-up. How many, you know, champions after that were? I mean, the people that already had basics, like the people that trained with him that were already champions. They obviously benefited from it because they already had a basis. And all he did was coach their the way that they, you know, worked them.
But don't forget, but at that time you had up and coming people, like points fighting, you know, in the 60s was up and coming, and Bruce Lee did have some wonderful concepts, but I think it's unfair to suggest that he alone was responsible for what points fighting became in America, because you did have quite a few people back then, like Bill Wallace, who had nothing to do with Bruce Lee. Whether or not he was influenced a little bit, I don't know.
I think they were influenced by the environment.
But you see, people so
I was going to say, if Bruce Lee influenced certain fighters and those fighters participated in that environment, then other people will be, you know, taken by that environment. Take a look at any year in the Nationals or the BKFA, and you see how the good fighters are influencing other fighters. You know, people start doing axe kicks, they start doing sweeps, They start doing back fist reverse punch. They start doing all sorts of things, jumping back kicks, because they've seen them work.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, if you see something and you want to make it work, if you've got the physicality, the capability that and training, you can do it.
Yeah.
So many people didn't. I mean, you see people that were kind of innovators, if you want to call them innovators. I've forgotten his name now. Jesus, a really nice guy. Shit. Megatron.
Oh, Nathan Lewis.
Nathan Lewis, that's right. And he used to do when he used to fight, he'd do a cartwheel.
Right.
And he'd kick him with the cartwheel.
Then that became a thing. And it still
that
is.
became a thing for him. A few people have taken that on board and go, oh, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
And if they've got the confidence to do it and they're cocky, they'll do it.
Alfie Lewis.
That's what it took. Yeah, that's what it took.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were really kicking and doing some amazing things.
Yeah.
So that people influenced other people, and I think that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You only have to look at boxing. I mean, how many people want to be like Muhammad Ali? How many people start dancing a lot more? How many people want to be like Tyson and start really, double up the punches and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
So a lot of people take their cues from these people that have been successful.
Yeah.
Why not?
No, absolutely. Great. But you might argue that idea is one of the core concepts of Jeet Kune. I'll take what's useful, I'll reject what's useless, and add specifically what's my own, which was his saying, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. But he's only doing what is natural. The only people that are not doing that are the people who refuse to change, the traditionalists.
Stop right there. Stop right there. So my next one I don't like about Jeet Kune is it's paradoxical by design. So Jeet Kune is one person's individual style, right? And it's Jeet Kune is Bruce Lee's style, right? Mm-hmm. It's not anybody else's style. You could say, all right, you could argue Jun Fan Jeet Kune was Bruce Lee's style, but but what you'll find is that every book, right, on Jeet Kune and the hardcore sort of concept Jeet Kune guys, they'll train the same way. So in effect, it's now become a style. They'll say, right, the ready position, you kind of side on, your back heel is raised, your rear hand is high, your front hand is out in front in the Baizhong ready position. And that has become a standard thing, right? That's a standard fighting stance.
Take a look at some boxers.
Yeah, right. But what I'm saying to you is, as soon as you standardize an individual's understanding of it's no longer a free thinking thing. It's standard. Right, because you can always tell the people that so you end up breeding clones. These are the people who have read Tao Jeet Kune and taken it so literally. Right, Bruce Lee says I've got to stand like this. My first reaction is parry, punch, or block punch, or punch. That's their. Bruce Lee said it. So, at what point does this? Like I said, what point does this free thinking, expressive art become a style that is limited?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. And then, of course, that particular technique might not particularly work against specifically other designs that are aimed to completely mess that up. I mean, you would argue that they have a way of countering what they see as the best position.
Right. Yeah.
They have to, because if someone stands in the best position, you have to find a position to better it, to counter it.
Yeah, well, a fighting stance is fluid, but you only know you're covered when you know you're open, right? So
exactly. So when you're looking at example, Brandon Lee doing that little flick kick to the knee or to the groin before he throws the punch.
Yeah.
He's trying to draw their guard. He's trying to make them feel, and let's face it, bum, bum, and then kick somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's going to draw the guard. So, and who's to say that their hand in the front is no target, etc., etc. You can go on forever about fighting. Yeah. Right.
But,
I think the point you're making, I mean, throughout this conversation is really the fact that in reality, it is a style. okay, or a style that was invented, but then it has no, although it has a core, the core is lost. Most of it is lost.
Yeah, and I think the core is quite fixed in Jeet Kune Do, and what I mean by the core, all it is Wing Chun, Muay Thai, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, it's Wing Chun basically.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Wing Chun with a competition edge.
Yeah, so
with a fighting edge.
I don't for one second believe it's actually Wing Chun. It's not standing.
It's not standing in that position anymore. He's changed that, but that doesn't mean to say it's not Wing Chun. Yeah. All he's done is adapted Wing Chun to Western fighting.
In other words,
people in West they fight differently to people in the East.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're not going to stand there like that, are you? In a boxing fight, you just you're not. So but likewise, what's the difference between that, the Wing Chun, and the Baizhong, the ready position? It's not. It's still a fighting position. It's got its weaknesses. Yeah. It's not infallible. That's the point.
Or as soon as you put yourself in a fighting position, you're already in the fight. So therefore, you're going to be you're going to have. It's volatile now.
Yeah. Not breeding independent thinkers, just clones. That was another one of my ones, which we've just talked about. 7, the amount of bows in Jeet Kune Do. Yeah, so
I don't know where that comes from. Well, that's not. That wasn't Bruce Lee's concept, because I don't think he cared about him.
Well,
I think as far as he's concerned, this is what we do, and I think he knows that whether it was called, one style or another. Yeah. That technique is going to be useful in all styles.
Yeah.
The only problem is the traditionalists don't use it.
Right.
They know it, but they don't know how to use it. But I think if you look at Lao Ga as the only thing we can, talk about with any kind of experience, is that when you see someone do a form in Lao Ga, he will perform that form as if he just learned it, only more fluidly. But it won't change, it won't evolve. His block will be boom like that instead of like quick movement. So we won't do that and then do something very quickly. He'll simply make the big movements, like in the first set, big movements. I'm just using that as a reference, but obviously we're really talking about movements with footwork and so on. But of course that would be boom boom boom, very quick movements. And you see when they do their sets, for some reason they just stick it the same. And they go, well, but this is how I was taught it, and this is how it should be taught. Well, yes, that's how it should be taught, but not how it can be used.
No. I think that and one of the things you can sort of look at with the Jeet Kune Do guys is they'll touch on something, for example, like Wing Chun trapping, right? And I say Wing Chun trapping, I'm using because that's what they would call it. It's just Kung Fu trapping, but they'll say it's Wing Chun trapping, right? So they'll do some Wing Chun trapping. I'll call it Wing Chun trapping. But they won't have, they'll take it at face value. They'll take it as it appears to them, the usefulness of it in its most explicit way. But what they won't do is they won't probably go home, analyze the shizzle out of it, think about loads of different variations, et cetera, et cetera. I think they're just going, I'm going to use that bit from Wing Chun because it's going to work, Do you know what I mean? So I think they're taking, I'm going to use this punch from boxing because on a parry and because it works, not kind of realizing actually that's in Wing Chun. Hello, but it is, it's just you're not looking hard enough, or you're not smart enough to sort of realize or put them together, and it breeds non-free thinkers. It breeds. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, what do we classify a martial artist as? But I look. I don't consider myself a martial artist. I'd be quite content with, a martial scientist, or do you know what I mean? And that's really kind of like,
Well, again, it's just trying to put things in categories, and
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
not easy to put things in categories, and some people like it in categories.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I categorize the everything I do as Lao Ga.
Yeah.
And then people who do Lao Ga might say, well, yeah, but you don't do it the same.
Yeah.
Because I simply don't apply the same technique, because that technique is not for my build or whatever, but I will apply it to someone who I'm teaching.
Yeah.
You know, to give them an example.
But even though you say, oh, it's Lao Ga, we've discussed like the idea of styles on previous, it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's more about the training method, and attaching a name to it is, you know, it's cute and everything, that's fine, but you kind of, it's
but again,
more expansive.
we have to categorize something, otherwise it will be nothing.
No, I agree.
You know, Bruce Lee had to put a had to categorize his, his objective, as Jeet Kune. He could not uncategorize it. He couldn't say, well, I haven't got a style, I just fight. Yeah. Because you have to learn it somewhat. You have to, you have to have
he's
got to teach some kind of curriculum. He's got to find a common ground with someone he's teaching. Yeah. And that's with all teaching, no matter whether it's martial arts or anything. You've got to find a common ground. You've got to know that that person can actually apply what you're teaching them before you know, go any further. So otherwise it's pointless. Yeah. Yeah. So it's got to be categorized from the word go. Yeah. You know, and secondly, of course, they've got to want it. And of course, if it has no name, why would they want it? Right. Yeah. If it has no reputation. Yeah. Well, if it's Bruce Lee's name, then you're going to want it, right? Exactly. And that's why it works, because it had Bruce Lee's names behind it. And of course, he's in movies and showing himself off in movies. It's a good demonstration in movies. They may not have recognized that the stuff he did in movies is not really what he would do in reality, for the most part. You know, with the big flying kicks and you know, stepping behind and that sort of thing. But they just loved it, and they saw how it works and thought, oh, you know, dragon whips his tail. In a way, what is it? Way of the Dragon? Way of the Dragon, yeah. And in the back of the restaurant. And it's just, you know, they look at that and go, wow, you know, that's brilliant. I want to do it. I got that. Dragon whips his tail. That was why I doing spinny kicks and knocking people's cigarettes out of their mouth. Yeah, but then that's what got me going. Yeah, but it also got me going. I think so many people as well, you know. But for me, it was probably less so much because I hadn't watched many movies at that point when I was beginning to find out about Bruce Lee. It was more about what this Jeet Kune was from my first book. You know, just reading the idea of like economy of motion. And I remember training, and I remember like countless lessons, you know, we would do where I'd have read something in that book and I was trying to make it work, like, and inspiring or whatever. And it was just like, it wasn't as easy as I thought, you know, economy, straight line. I'm going to beat him with just a straight punch, you know, hang on. It's not working. What the hell? He's there now, you know. I'm like, do you know what I mean? So it sounds wonderful for the uninitiated, and it makes sense, but it's a bit more esoteric and deeper than that, I think. Well, then you can just look at the little scene with Bob Wall. Boards don't hit back. Yeah, yeah. You know, you can see that's kind of telling you exactly what isn't going to happen if you try to, you know, exert power on something that is no longer there. So and it totally depends on your opponent, and that's the way it is. So you have to know what your opponent's capable of. And that's why boxing matches are so long. They know what they're doing. They know, and they unfortunately they have to take time to wear people down sometimes. There's no way on earth they're going to be able to, you know, just hit them. They're there. Sometimes it happens though, doesn't it? Sometimes it's like 2 seconds and the fight's over. You know, they go to shake hands, the other guy can smack, and that's it. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. But no, absolutely, it's in the rules. So here's a quote from Bruce Lee from Jeet Kune, the Tao of Jeet Kune, and I was just wondering what you think of this. So in that book he says, I hope that martial artists are more interested in the root of martial arts and not the different decorative branches, flowers, or leaves. It is futile to argue
as to which single leaf, which design or branches or which attractive flower you like. When you understand the root, you understand all its blossoming.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of that?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
But I think it does say a lot. Now, yeah, I always will call mine Lao because that's where I learned it. And that is in honor of the people that taught me. But we never, ever stick to, you know, a specific. It has to be, I mean, we always say everything can be useful for everything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, all moves are can be adopted and adapted to be applied. And that's how you have to use your techniques. But there is, within the realms of science, only so many ways you can, you know, be directed to a target.
Yeah.
You know, and there's only so many ways you can manipulate your hand and someone else's hand and someone else's body.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a limitation to that. But to be honest with you, it's such a wide range. If you open up your head, open up your mind, and just respond to what people are doing. Yeah. And I think, remember, most fighters, they have very few techniques. They'll just use techniques that work. That's the concept that works for them.
Yeah, well, you see that a hell of a lot if we're talking about fighters, you mean sports, right? So,
well, yeah, even in reality, it's,
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
someone approaches you, you're just going to do one specific thing, which you know will work each time.
I think you can make more sense of that if you just look at sport fighters, right? So, you know, and I don't mean to. You're right. Of course, you're right. But I mean, like, for example, you look at.
Gives you good examples in sport.
Yeah, like Bill Wallace, right? So he had like 5.
Well, it's rarely they video. It's rarely they video anything that's decent in a pub.
Yeah.
So, although in saying that, there's a lot of. There's a lot. You don't get many of them in a pub. They're not interested.
I saw this great. I got great CCTV of. Yeah. So I used to do a bit of sort of private sort of investigation work for a guy in Hereford called Gordon, right?
Yeah.
I won't say his second name or anything, but used to be associated with the SAS and all that. Anyway, so and he used to run a pub. This guy Gordon, he used to run a pub, and he had CCTV up in this pub, and he sent me a CCTV bit of footage of this guy being really sort of aggressive to the bar staff. Right, and what you saw, the angle was this guy Gordon. He had one of them extendable battens, you know.
Yeah.
So this guy Gordon, I loved it. It was great. I just love this anyway. I just tell you, he was walking, you know, as casual as you like, leaning on the bar, drinking his beer. You know, this guy's kicking off, effing and jeffing. This guy Gordon just walks past him, real slow, non-aggressive, casual as you like. Gets right next to him, pulls out this thing, goes whack across his carotid artery. This guy faints, and this guy Gordon says, "Pick him up, go." I thought, genius, best thing I've ever seen. You know, boom. You know, stealth.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You
exactly.
know?
That's.
And I love.
And that's why I say, there are certain things that people will do in self-defense that will always work.
An extendable baton
for them.
But I like that sort of no BS mentality. It's like
that's what you need.
Not posturing. It's stealth. It's cunning.
You're wasting time posturing.
Exactly.
And you're creating more work for yourself.
Yeah, that's it.
Why do you need the guy who's going to react to that?
You know, and that Gordon is only a small guy, but he didn't make a song and dance about it. Just did the business, done.
Yeah, brilliant,
loved it. You know, so going back to. You know, sort of going full circle with the Jeet Kune, it has, and I truly believe this, it has become a style, right?
But yeah,
and not just,
hasn't it?
Well, yeah, not just for that reason, just the physical, a lot of the physicality of it. Like I've mentioned, like people doing the same fighting stances. You can always tell as well if you go on YouTube, right? You see a lot of people, whether they're like. And they might be kung fu practitioners or, you know, or indeed, Jeet Kune practitioners, but you see them spar, right? You can always tell that they have, you know, read the Tao of Jeet Kune and watched Bruce Lee movies from the way they fight. And what they'll always do.
What?
No, well, yeah, that. they'll always be side on, and they'll always use a lead sidekick and a stamp. Do you know what I mean? And like they'll always go in with that fast sidekick, and then a back fist, and and that's it. But they don't know what to do then. It's kind of funny. And it's funny how you can classify them. You say, yeah, you've watched Enter the Dragon, or you've watched Way of the Dragon. You've read JEET KUNE. I can just tell.
Is that as you're smacking your knuckle on their shin as they try to kick?
Right.
Is that as you're kicking the back of their calf as they're trying to kick?
Well, it's sort of thing, Yeah. And it's like you
as you're sweeping as they put the leg down. It's just But it's funny how what they're trying to interpret freedom of expression and this non-style. But they're making it a style, and it's just like, okay, and for me, we've talked about the styles, but it's more about training curriculums or training methods. If you're going to do Muay Thai, right? If you train Muay Thai, you're going to be training for a ring. You're going to be training for specifics. You're going to use elbows. You're going to want to get in the clinch and use elbows and knees. And shin kicks, and it's going to be powerful. You have a specific way to stand because that's conducive to the rule set. If you're doing points fighting, that you don't have to worry about knees, kicks to the legs. If you stand side on, you're a smaller target, and that chances are a back fist reverse or a blitz is going to score you a point. Yeah.
Doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They're not throwing techniques. They're probably going to go, they'll shoot and they'll take you down, And it's just like those training methods.
So obviously when you're in a sporting environment where these things, it's a totally different situation to in reality where you have no idea of what they intend to do and how they intend to make it worse, if you like, or, keep the fight going.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's so ultimately self-defense is for me the important thing about any martial art. And that JEET KUNE in itself is was originally designed by Bruce Lee for that specific, maybe because of his past, maybe because of his childhood, simply because he wanted to be well-armed. And he just it's just, I think it's every martial artist's dream to be good at self-defense. However, you cannot take away the concept of self-defense by applying the style. You've got to take the style away to create the self-defense. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you've got to...
I think I do, but that was quite deep. Can you explain that again?
You can't be doing exactly what you're doing in the classroom. This punch has to be this shape, this kick has to be this shape, because it's totally not going to work in an environment where it has to be on point, on time, every time. And you're only going to get one shot at it. You're not going to get 10 shots up the room, turn around and then come back. So you've got to make it so that you've got a target all the time, and therefore you've got to fight. And when you fight, you've got to fight with some kind of result in mind.
And not forgetting that chances are within a self-defense situation, chances are that the person you're fighting knows nothing about fighting. And in many ways, they're the hardest person to fight, is the person who doesn't know anything, but because they're unpredictable.
But that's why preemptive intervention is much better. Because you can't wait to find out what he's like.
Right.
You've got to deal with the aggression. And not with the fighter. So he's screaming, his mouth's open, you smack him in the jaw, you punch him in the throat, you poke him in the eye, whatever, but you've got to know it works. And if you don't know it works, just because you ain't trained it, you just think you can poke someone in the eye and you end up breaking your finger, what are you going to do then? You just made him angry. So it is about the training is important. Martial arts training is important, but you can't define self-defense by your martial art. You have to define your self-defense by your understanding of the opponent. I guess.
What do you think of the, sort of all these old school people trying to keep Jeet Kune alive? Do you sort of think good on them?
What are they
Or-
trying to keep alive?
I would say probably Bruce Lee's sort of training methods and
His
the direction.
ideology.
Yeah, I'd say
Well, then
what he
they
wanted to
should-
do in terms of he wanted to do Wing Chun, he wanted to do Muay Thai, you know, whatever. What do you say to those people who were trying to keep that alive? And
I
and
think
have
they're
them?
only trying to keep their view of it or their version of it, because I don't think you can. It was an independent, as you said earlier, an independent style, an individual style. It was his and the way that he worked it. And because he taught it in the way he taught it, it has very little curriculum, and therefore it's a very difficult thing to sustain because it has very little curriculum.
Yeah.
Now, with the majority of martial arts, although they may be static, although they may be very long-winded, they have a very large, it's like trying to learn martial arts from a Beano or from War and Peace. You've got this huge vocabulary which you can use, build, and yes, it's useless to you in the sense of the vocabulary, like the alphabet is useless to you in a sentence,
Right.
but you know the alphabet, and if you don't know the whole alphabet, you cannot make the sentence.
Right.
So you have to create the fight only by what you know. But that's not a bad thing necessarily, because obviously with some of the with the way that people learn, depending on their capability of fighting, they're only going to need a few techniques. You know, that's all they're going to need.
Yeah,
and
but
an
it's
extendable
a baton.
thing.
Yeah, but the
Baton.
problem is when you say that only a few people, they're going to only need a few techniques. The problem
But that's
is
only very few of them. These are the people that are literally born to fight, if you want.
Yeah.
But when you're not, and you're learning a complete martial arts, you've got to take away. You've got not. It's not taking them away. It's using them. It's
finding a use.
It's well, the use is already there. The purpose is there, but you have to make it work for the purpose.
Yeah.
You know, for the purpose of, you know, there are an awful lot of knives on a you know, rack. They've all got a purpose for everything, you know. But at the end of the day, if you break it down, they can all cut you.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to make everything define. It's like saying, okay, well, I have to do a reverse punch, I have to do a jab, I have to do this. But if you're going to do that in a fight, you're going to see it coming. So like we do with the sets, you've got to completely you've got to hone it so it becomes fluid. And the problem with people trying to maintain the traditional art is they may not be able to do that, but because they do maintain the art, someone somewhere one day will, as long as they understand it.
Yeah.
But if they don't understand the fighting concept, then it'll always be a static martial art.
It'll be
so
it won't be alive. Yeah.
No, so lots of martial arts exist today.
Yeah.
They have no purpose. They're not static. Sorry, they're too static.
They're too static.
So I mean, if you look at Taekwondo, for instance, they're absolutely brilliant at throwing up and jumping up and amazing kicks and jumping and breaking boards and stuff like that. But although it's fluid for that purpose, much of it has no real place in real fighting, because the techniques are far too long, they're far too exaggerated, and so on. So it takes someone who does Taekwondo as an example to become a fighter. He's got to make those kicks lower. He's got to make those punches faster and actually use punches instead of standing looking like he's doing Irish dancing with attitude.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're
And
right.
so on,
'cause-
and therefore, anything can work if the guy can adapt it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't throw anything away. It depends on the person.
Yeah. I think it's easy to confuse a style with tactics and strategy, and you think they're one in the same, right?
No,
and
they're
what I mean by that is, right, you use Taekwondo, so I use it. You look at a Taekwondo guy do a pattern, and you think, oh, great, then but it's done in such a non-fluid way. It's just for the sake of doing it. When they're sparring, you know, you will seldom find any of those techniques or of any use to them in that sporting context, let alone self-defense context. But then, you know, if they haven't got the strategy and tactics to implement, that pattern on its own is useless. You might as well be doing ballroom dancing.
Again, like the alphabet doesn't spell anything.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I think that's the best analogy.
Yeah, no, it's great.
The alphabet spells nothing. So you know, until you understand how that alphabet works, and that's the sound of the words and how to string them together and what makes sense and what doesn't.
Yeah,
you can't use it.
So, do you think in like we've talked a bit about Jeet Kune Do? I've tried to open it up in terms of what I kind of think it might be, and we've gone round and we've talked. Do you think that Jeet Kune Do can work or can be good? Or
I think it's down to the individual who's practicing it and down to how much syllabus they have.
Right.
You know, some people can do, like I said earlier, some people can do things with a very limited strategy, and other people can do, you know, need a lot of strategy and then develop it so that, and again, it depends on the environment they're fighting in as well. You know, you can take an awful lot of weapons to a battle, but only some of them are going to be useful to you. The rest are going to be out of range, you know, over range, under range, overpowered, underpowered. You know, so, you know, as you know, talking your language, your military thing, you know what I mean? It's, you know, you just blow yourself up if you're in a close proximity.
You're not going in a close quarter battle with a rocket launcher. Put it like that.
No, you're not, because it's just gonna blow your mates up. Burn all your mates behind you.
But okay. Well, that was an interesting, you know, topic. I don't know if we've reached any conclusion there, but
well, it's for the listener to reach confusion. Yeah, no, I don't know. Or conclusion.
Yeah,
and you know, it's just for fun. Don't write in.
No, don't. Yeah,
but you can make comments if you want to, because you know we're just talking generally, and
no, that's it. No.
You can agree or disagree.
Well, that's it. I mean, so I've had the Tower Jeet Kune Do. I had so many Bruce Lee books. I've had so many, and I've given loads away. Bruce Lee's fighting methods, you know, that's all like 4 volumes or whatever.
That one, I think I might have that.
Yeah,
one.
so you know, it's you know, it's all that sort of stuff. Again, you know, it's really interesting to read, and for the novice, you know, give it a go. You know, see what you think of it, and because
it makes sense.
It does make sense.
Bruce Lee made great sense. I loved his book.
Yeah, it does make sense.
It made great sense. Yes,
you know,
but he cannot claim it for himself.
Right.
He cannot claim that strategy or those tactics.
No, he cannot. And this is, you're right. It's almost as if the whole world thinks Bruce Lee invented it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing about Jeet Kune Do, is the people who do Jeet Kune Do think Bruce Lee's method is the greatest because he invented it. No, he didn't invent it. He utilized what was already common knowledge and already, you know, commonly used in most Kung Fu strategies. Yes, it was different for karate, most definitely. At some point in time, karate would have been good, but unfortunately it became too militarized. So
especially when you're talking like 50s and 60s America, it wasn't that great, you know.
No, it was army people with the army attitudes that came back from Japan with whatever they knew, whatever they learned in Japan, and you know, they prolificated it in America. And of course, it was new, it was popular, and it was a good fitness program.
So I kind of think that, and comment if you agree or disagree, Steve, I kind of think he started with Kung Fu, he buggered off, did a load of other stuff, and he ended with Kung Fu. That was Bruce Lee's journey. What do you think?
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased because I do Kung Fu, but I'm really underneath the point I was making there, people, was
he's just using strategy and tactics that already existed in Kung Fu.
So he started with Kung Fu, did something else, and ended with Kung Fu. And now everyone, you know, is confused because he didn't call it Kung Fu. Right. So, And that's what I think. If you disagree or agree, leave us a comment. That'd be great. You know, we talk out of our buttholes sometimes. So,
have you got a clock on your wall now?
Have I got a clock?
A Glock.
A Glock. Oh yeah. Yeah, a Glock. Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, anyway, right. We're gonna sign off, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to us. You know, drone on about this, and
But
as
make
always,
sure you've edited my cringe, because I just
I
did
will.
not know what
Cringe will be edited. Don't
Keanu
worry.
Reeves.
Guys, leave us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, all that stuff, and you take very good care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon on the next episode of the Kung Fu Podcast. Take care, guys.
Excellent.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. 40 degrees.
Is it? Put the fan on. Put the fan
Well,
on.
I couldn't because of the noise on the thing.
Concentrate on your enemy's weak points. The eyes, the throat, the knackers.
Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Kung Fu Podcast. If you like that and you want to find out more about us, you can head over to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or YouTube and find us under SJN Martial Arts. And also guys, this podcast is available on Podbean and iTunes. So until next time, take care of yourselves and we'll see you again on the Kung Fu Podcast.
Karate punch is like an iron bar, whack. A kung fu punch is like an iron chain with an iron ball attached to the end and it go whang.
Can you break a log like that?
Don't know. Never been attacked by tree.